They say aging is all about decline, losing strength, losing memory, losing relevance. But if you ask many seniors who've truly found happiness, they'll tell you something different. They'll say the older you get, the clearer life becomes. You stop chasing approval. You stop needing noise. And slowly, you start seeing beauty in the quiet, meaning in the mundane, and freedom in being exactly who you are. No more pretending. This isn't something we're taught in school. It's not something you learn in your 30 seconds or 40 seconds. It's a gift that only comes with time and only to those willing to listen. So in today's video, we're sharing 7 pieces of wisdom from older adults who found deep, lasting joy. Not by running from age, but by embracing it. Their insights may surprise you. They may even change the way you see your own journey. Let's begin. We live in a world that moves fast, where youth is praised and aging is often seen as something to fear, fix, or hide. But the truth is, for many seniors, this stage of life is not an ending. It's a beginning. It's a time when the noise fades and clarity rises. When you stop living by everyone else's expectations and start asking, what actually makes me happy? That's why the wisdom of older adults matters more now than ever. In a society obsessed with shortcuts, productivity, and appearances, we need voices that speak of depth, of what lasts. After the spotlight fades, these stories aren't loud. They don't come with fanfare, but they're powerful. They come from people who've lived through decades of change, love, loss, and renewal, and who've learned through it all what happiness really feels like. If you're in your 60 seconds, 70 seconds, 80 seconds or beyond, your voice is needed. Your experience holds weight, and your joy matters, not just to you, but to all of us. Because when you share what life has taught you, the quiet lessons, the hard-earned truths, you remind the world that growing older isn't about fading away. It's about rising into who you were meant to be, all along. For much of our lives, we carry a heavy list of shoulds. I should have done more with my career. I should have been a better parent. I should look younger, be stronger, stay busier. But one of the greatest gifts that comes with aging is this quiet realization. You've done enough, not perfect, not always right, but enough to still be here, still growing, still loving. Take Marion, a 7-year-old woman who spent most of her life comparing herself to her younger sister. Her sister had a big house, a high-paying job, and traveled the world. Marion, on the other hand, raised 3 kids, worked part-time, and rarely left her hometown. For years, she felt small, like she hadn't lived big enough. But one afternoon, sitting on her porch with a cup of tea and her granddaughter on her lap, she felt something shift. I gave love. I stayed when it was hard. I made a home that felt safe, she said. And maybe that's enough. When you let go of the pressure to be extraordinary, you make space for peace. Because peace doesn't come from doing more. It comes from finally realizing you're already whole. For years, success was measured by milestones, promotions, awards, a full calendar, a busy life. But as we grow older, something shifts. What once felt impressive now feels exhausting. What once looked like success now feels like noise. And suddenly, inner calm starts to matter more than outer achievement. Meet Charles, an 80-year-old retired businessman. In his prime, he managed over 200 employees. He was always on the move, flying for meetings, juggling deadlines, speaking at conferences. But now his favorite moment of the day is watching the sunrise from his kitchen window. No one's clapping, no one's watching. He says, and yet, I feel more alive than I ever did in a boardroom. This kind of calm doesn't come from retirement. It comes from wisdom. From realizing that peace is not something you earn, it's something you create by slowing down, by choosing quiet, by letting go of the need to prove. You begin to see that a quiet morning, a deep breath, a moment of stillness. Those are the new victories. And here's the secret. You don't need an audience to feel fulfilled. True joy isn't loud. It's gentle, it's quiet, and often it's found when no one's looking except you. There's a quiet kind of freedom that often comes with age. It's not flashy, it doesn't make headlines, but it feels like this. You wake up, look in the mirror, and finally say to yourself, "This is enough. I am enough." Peace, for many older adults, comes when the pressure to perform finally fades. You don't have to impress anyone anymore. You don't have to chase approval. You've earned the right not to explain, not to justify, but simply to be. Take Lillian, age 79. For decades, she never left the house without doing her hair and makeup just right. She wore jewelry even to the grocery store, always afraid of being seen, as letting herself go. But one summer morning, something changed. She stepped outside in simple clothes, her hair tied back, no lipstick. And for the first time, she felt light. No one stared. No one cared, she said. But I did. He felt free. When you no longer live to meet others' standards, peace enters. It whispers, "You can stop trying so hard now. You've already arrived." At this stage, happiness isn't something you chase. It's what you uncover when you stop running. And that, perhaps, is the most beautiful kind of peace there is. There comes a point in life when you stop needing a crowd and start craving something deeper. In your younger years, it felt important to be surrounded friends, co-workers, neighbors, acquaintances. You kept in touch. You showed up. You stayed busy. But over time, the need to be everywhere begins to fade. That's when many older adults make a powerful shift. They begin choosing fewer people, but with truer bonds. Meet Ruth, 76. In her 42nd, she threw big birthday parties with dozens of guests. Now she celebrates quietly with 2 close friends and her dog. And she says it's the happiest she's ever been. "I used to think more people meant more love," she said. "But love doesn't come in numbers. It comes in presence and honesty." We eventually learn that depth feels better than volume. One friend who really listens is worth more than 20 who barely remember your birthday. And as your energy becomes more precious, you naturally grow selective. Not out of coldness, but out of wisdom. You begin choosing who fills your space. And in that space, something beautiful happens. You're no longer trying to be everything to everyone. You're just being you, surrounded by those who see and accept you as you are. There's an unspoken pressure in society to stay active, stay social, stay visible. You hear it all the time. Don't isolate yourself. Come to the party. It'll be fun. You should get out more. But for many older adults, constantly keeping up starts to feel more like a burden than a joy. The truth: you don't have to go to every gathering to prove you're still living. Meet Harold, Basher Yi. He used to attend every family event, even when he was exhausted. "I didn't want anyone thinking I was fading," he said. But over time, he realized something important. The people who truly love him don't need him to show up every time. They just need him to show up as himself. "I stopped trying to keep up," Harold says, smiling. "And I've never felt more present." There's real freedom in saying, This pace doesn't work for me anymore. You're not withdrawing, you're choosing what fits, choosing what fills you up. And that kind of decision isn't selfish. It's wise. Because happiness at this stage of life isn't about being everywhere. It's about being true to yourself. Wherever you are, one of the most powerful shifts in later life is this. You stop reaching out just because you should, and you start connecting only when your heart truly says yes. In your younger years, you may have maintained relationships out of duty, making phone calls, sending holiday cards, saying yes to invitations, even when you were tired. Not because you wanted to, but because it felt expected. But now, you begin to understand that real connection isn't about frequency. It's about authenticity. Take Elaine, Chishiba. She used to call a group of high school friends every month, even though the conversations left her feeling unseen. One day, she stopped. I realized I was holding on to something out of habit, she said. So I let go, and it felt honest. In its place, she nurtured 2 new friendships with people who really listened, and the joy was immediate. At this stage, you learn to stop pouring your energy into people who only take. You choose those who meet you where you are, who ask, "How are you? Really?" and wait for the real answer. Connection by choice, not by obligation, is the kind that nourishes your soul. And when you focus on those few genuine bonds, you realize you never needed a crowd. You just needed real company. Every wrinkle holds a story, every scar, a memory. And yet, so many older adults have been told directly or silently to stay quiet, to not dwell on the past. But here's the truth. Telling your story isn't dwelling. It's healing. When you share your life, the highs, the heartbreaks, the ordinary days in between, you remind yourself that it all mattered. That you mattered. And something beautiful happens. Others begin to see themselves in you. Your courage gives them courage. Your honesty makes space for their own truth. Meet Walter Bashasan. After his wife passed, he started writing a few pages each morning. Not for a book, not for an audience, but just to remember. Soon, his grandchildren asked to read them. His words, once locked away, brought his family closer than ever. I thought my life was simple, he said. But now I see it was full, and it was worth telling. Storytelling isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. And in that realness, there's power. The power to reflect, to release, and to reconnect. So if you've ever felt like no one wants to hear your story, let this be your reminder someone does. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. For much of life, many of us are taught to stay small. Don't stir the pot. Don't bring up the hard stuff. Be grateful. Others have it worse. And so, we hold things in, we silence our pain, downplay our joy, and tuck our truths away in the corners of our hearts. But with age comes a quiet revolution. You realize you don't need permission to tell your truth. Your story doesn't have to be dramatic to matter. It doesn't need approval to be real. It just needs your voice steady, honest, and finally free. Meet Gloria, Chishisu. For decades, she never spoke about the loneliness she felt. After retiring, I didn't want to sound ungrateful, she said. But one day at her local senior center, she finally opened up. To her surprise, nearly everyone in the room nodded in understanding. I wasn't alone, she said. I just thought I was. When you speak your truth, something shifts. The weight lifts. Shame softens. Connection begins. And you start to see that your voice, even if it shakes, carries power. Not to impress, not to perform, but to simply say, "This is me, and my story matters." 2. Sometimes, the most meaningful audience is yourself. That's what Helen Bashar discovered when she began journaling her life, not for fame, not for family, but simply to listen to herself. Each morning, she wrote a few paragraphs about her memories, her childhood dog, her first job, the day her husband proposed. Some days she laughed, some days she cried, but every day she felt seen by her own eyes. In her own words, "I used to think no one cared about my story," she said, "but now I realize I needed to hear it." Writing became her mirror, her friend, her quiet way of saying, "I've lived." And that matters. She didn't publish a book. She didn't share her pages online. But she found a voice she hadn't heard in years, her own. For many older adults, journaling becomes a sacred space. It doesn't need to be perfect. Spelling and grammar don't matter. What matters is honesty, a place to remember, to reflect, and to reclaim your voice. And perhaps, in telling your story to yourself, you begin to believe something powerful. Your life was never small. It was layered, vibrant, and worth writing down. As we age, our energy becomes more precious. Not just physical energy, but emotional space, mental clarity, and the quiet strength it takes to get through a day. But many older adults struggle with an old habit, saying yes, even when their heart and body says no. The truth is, resting isn't laziness. It's listening. And saying no isn't rude. It's respectful to yourself. Meet Teresa. Tishawu. She used to feel guilty when she declined invitations. Even a simple coffee outing would leave her drained. But she still said yes. Worried she'd hurt someone's feelings. One day, her doctor gently asked, "What would happen if you honored your limits instead of pushing past them?" That question changed everything. Now, Teresa checks in with herself before committing. If she needs rest, she rests. If she's unsure, she gives herself time. And her relationships didn't fall apart, they deepened. Because when you care for yourself with kindness, others learn to do the same. Protecting your energy doesn't make you distant. It makes you wise. It means you've learned to trust your body, your feelings, and your rhythms, and that trust. It's one of the kindest gifts you can give yourself at any age. As we grow older, we become more sensitive to what nourishes us and what drains us. It might be loud environments. It might be conversations that feel one-sided. It might even be certain people who leave you feeling tired, criticized, or unseen. The wisdom is in noticing it and choosing to step away without guilt. Take Raymond Chishijo. He used to attend a weekly card game with friends, but over time, he noticed something. He left those gatherings, feeling anxious and tense. The jokes turned sharp, the talk grew negative. It stopped feeling fun. One day, he quietly stopped going. Instead, he started walking in the mornings, listening to music, and spending time with a neighbor who made him laugh. It wasn't easy to step back. He said, "What felt better, lighter." This isn't about cutting people off. It's about honoring how things make you feel. If something or someone constantly drains your energy, you have the right to create distance, not as punishment, but as protection. Your emotional energy is not limitless, and part of growing wiser is learning that peace sometimes means walking away even from things that once felt familiar. You're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're strong for valuing it. Setting boundaries doesn't mean building walls. It means drawing gentle lines that protect your peace, while still leaving space for love. Many older adults struggle with this. You don't want to disappoint your children. You don't want to seem distant from your friends. So you say yes, even when your heart says no. But here's the truth. You can care deeply and still have limits. Take Margaret, Basher. Her family often expected her to babysit on short notice. She loved her grandkids dearly, but the exhaustion lingered long after they left. One day, she calmly said, "I love being with them, but I need more notice. My body needs time." 2. Her daughter hesitated, then nodded. Because when boundaries are set with love, people hear the love, not just the limit. Creating peaceful boundaries isn't about rejection. It's about clarity. It's saying, this is what I can give, and this is what I need to stay well. And when you do it with warmth, something magical happens. Your relationships become more honest, more balanced, more sustainable, because protecting your energy doesn't close your heart. It helps you show up fully with joy, not resentment. There's a quiet kind of happiness that comes with slowing down, the kind you miss when life moves too fast. In your younger years, joy often felt tied to big events, a vacation, a promotion, a party. But in later life, many older adults discover something beautiful. Joy lives in the ordinary. If you pay attention. Meet Annie, 77. She used to rush through her mornings, checking the news, making lists, feeling behind. Now, she begins each day by sitting near her window with a cup of tea, watching the squirrels in her yard. And strangely, she says she's never felt more alive. "I thought I needed excitement," she said. "Turns out, I just needed to notice what was already around me." There's magic in the small things. A fresh breeze, a perfectly ripe peach, a memory that makes you smile. When you stop chasing joy and start savoring it, you realize happiness isn't waiting at the finish line. It's walking right beside you every quiet step of the way. We spend much of our lives reaching for more success, more stuff, more approval. But with age comes a quiet shift. You start to see the beauty of enough. Take Karl Basher. He used to measure his days by accomplishments. Now, he finds joy in simpler questions. Did I rest well? Did I enjoy my lunch? Did I have a good conversation today? I used to think happiness meant achieving more, he says. Now I think it's knowing when to stop and enjoy what's already here. Letting go of more doesn't mean losing ambition. It means redefining success. When you release the pressure to constantly chase, you make space for stillness, for gratitude, for joy. Because sometimes, the richest life isn't the one with the most stuff. It's the one where your heart whispers, "This is enough." How many times in life have we said, "One day, I'll travel. Someday, I'll learn to paint. Maybe later, I'll finally relax." But with age, many older adults see the truth. Someday is not guaranteed. Take Maria, 79. She always dreamed of growing sunflowers but delayed. Then one spring, she planted seeds in coffee cans on her porch. By summer, her garden bloomed, and every time she saw them, she smiled like a child. "It took me 40 years, she said, but I finally gave myself permission to enjoy something small." Joy isn't just in bucket lists or big dreams. It's in the tea you drink slowly, the song you hum while folding laundry. When you stop waiting for the right time, you realize something powerful. Joy isn't a future destination. It's a present decision. Letting go can feel like giving up, but in truth, it's often the bravest thing you can do. You let go of roles you once carried. The caregiver, the planner, the one who held everything together. You let go of things you once chased: perfection, approval, control. And you begin to ask, what still brings me peace? What have I outgrown? Take Joanne, 76. She had led every holiday gathering for decades, cooked every meal, hosted every guest, planned every detail. But last year, she told her daughter, "I think it's your turn now." At first, it felt like a piece of her identity was slipping away. But on Thanksgiving, as she watched her daughter greet the guests, as she sat with her tea, instead of stirring pots, she felt something unexpected: relief and joy, because letting go doesn't mean disappearing. It means making space for others to step up, for yourself to rest, and for life to shift gently into something new. You don't have to carry it all anymore. Some dreams don't come true. That can be a hard truth to accept, especially when you've carried them quietly in your heart for decades. Maybe you wanted to start a business, travel to a certain place, reconnect with someone who drifted away. And as the years pass, a quiet ache can remain. What if I had? Why didn't I? But here's the gentle wisdom that many older adults discover. You can make peace with an unfinished dream and still live a beautiful life. Take Leon Bashiyi. He always dreamed of learning the piano, but between raising a family and working 2 jobs, it never happened. At first, he felt regret, but instead of staying stuck there, he found another way. Now, he listens to piano music every evening, eyes closed, fingers moving along the armrest like keys. He feels the music deeply, and somehow it feels enough. Not all dreams must be completed to be meaningful. Some simply shape the way we see the world. When you let go of what could have been, you make space to appreciate what is. And that shift from longing to peace is not failure. It's grace. For much of your life, you may have been defined by your roles: the provider, the parent, the helper, the one who always showed up. And then gradually or suddenly those roles shift. The children grow up, the job ends. The phone rings less often. It can feel like you've lost something essential, like part of you has gone quiet. But here's the truth. Many older adults come to understand, letting go of who you were creates space to become someone new. Meet Harold Chishaba. After his wife passed and his kids moved away, he felt invisible. "I didn't know what role I had left to play," he said. Then, one afternoon, he helped a neighbor fix a leaky faucet. She thanked him with homemade cookies. The next week, she asked for help again, and soon, so did others. Now, Harold is the guy who helps out on his street. He's not trying to be who he was. He's simply showing up as who he is right now. Your identity is not stuck in the past. You're allowed to evolve, to contribute in new ways, to matter still. Letting go of old roles isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. We often hear the phrase, "Those were the best years of your life." And sure, there were golden moments: falling in love, raising a family, building something from nothing. But for many older adults, that phrase starts to feel heavy. Like everything meaningful is behind them and what's left is just the waiting. Here's the truth. The best isn't a time in the past. It's a feeling inside of you, and it can still grow. Take Evelyn Basha-san. She once believed her best days ended when she retired. The rush of purpose, the daily structure, the sense of being needed, it all disappeared. But over time, she redefined the best. Now, the best means her slow mornings, her books, her garden, her handwritten letters to a grandson across the country. "I stopped looking backward," she said, "and I started looking inward." Because the best isn't about how much you do, it's about how deeply you live. And once you stop measuring your life by how busy or visible you are, something opens up. A quiet richness, a deeper kind of joy, one that was there all along, just waiting to be noticed in a world that praises busyness. It's easy to believe your worth is tied to what you do. You cook, you clean, you plan, you help, and people say, you're amazing. But what happens when the to-do list shrinks? When your body slows down, when you're no longer needed the way you once were? Many older adults quietly wonder, if I'm not productive, do I still matter? The answer is simple and powerful. Yes, you matter, because your presence has value, even in stillness. Meet Samuel Bashar. He no longer drives, no longer manages the family finances. But every Sunday, he sits on the porch with his granddaughter, just listening as she talks about school, life, love. He rarely gives advice. He just listens. Fully, patiently, gently. And she says those are her favorite moments of the week. Why? Because his presence, calm, kind, undistracted, makes her feel safe, seen, loved. Your worth doesn't expire with age. And it isn't measured in tasks completed or things achieved. Sometimes the most meaningful thing you offer is your steady gaze, your gentle nod, your quiet being. You don't have to do more to mean more. You already do. You already are. The body changes. The mirror reflects silver hair, softer skin, a slower step, but there's something time cannot touch. Your essence, the core of who you are, your humor, your kindness, your curiosity, your quiet strength that doesn't fade. It deepens. You may speak more slowly now, but your words carry more weight. You may move less, but your presence fills a room. You may forget a few names, but you remember what matters. Take Lily, Basha Si. She once feared becoming invisible as she aged, but something unexpected happened. When she stopped trying to prove herself, she began to reveal herself. Now, people seek her out for her stories, her laughter, her calm wisdom. Aging didn't take her essence away. It brought it into focus. You are not less because you've changed. You are more layered with memories, lessons, and love. And while youth shines bright, age glows warm. You are not disappearing. You are becoming still, always. If you've ever felt like you're slowing down, pulling back, or quietly changing, you're not alone. You're not fading, you're unfolding. The wisdom shared in this video isn't about becoming someone new. It's about recognizing the depth of who you've always been. You don't need to chase youth to find joy. You don't need to prove your worth to feel valuable. Every line on your face, every pause in your day, every gentle choice you make, they all carry meaning. This stage of life isn't the end of your story. It's the soft, rich middle. The part where things slow down just enough for you to hear your own heart again. You haven't missed your chance. You're not too late. You're right on time for a different kind of happiness. Maybe the world tells you happiness belongs to the young, to fast lives, big milestones, constant doing. But the truth? Happiness was never behind you. It's been within you all along. It's in the way you notice what others rush past. It's in your patience, your stories, your steady presence. It's in your ability to sit with life just as it is, without needing it to be more. The older you get, the more you realize joy doesn't shout. It whispers, and with time, you become quiet enough to hear it. You don't need to become someone else. You only need to return gently to who you truly are. So breathe. Soften your expectations. Let go of the shoulds. And notice the very life you're living is already full of small, sacred joys. Not because everything is perfect, but because you've lived enough to see what truly matters. The best is not a memory. It's a presence, and it's already yours. If any part of this message spoke to your heart, We'd love to hear from you. What wisdom has life taught you? What small joy have you learned to cherish? Share it in the comments, even just one sentence. You never know who needs to hear your story today. And if you found comfort in this video, consider subscribing. Not for numbers, but so we can keep walking this path of reflection, gently, together. Your voice matters here. And your presence exactly as it is more than enough